The Grand Hall of the Galactic Convergence shimmered with enough opulence to make a black hole feel underdressed. 100 species stood in tight formation across glowing walkways, their silks, scales, and synthesized skin suits catching the artificial starlight refracted through the ceiling's crystalline dome. In the center, a dais hovered, gravitationally suspended like a smug floating cheese wheel. And on it, standing alone, unbothered by the thousands watching her, with a mix of awe and terror, was Empress Virelia Cathel of the House of Flame and Mercy. She did not wear a crown. She didn't need to. Her presence was its own coronation. 7 feet tall in ceremonial black, with luminous veins of gold running up her arms, she stood motionless. Her long ears, the only outward sign of her alien heritage among humanoids, twitched slightly when silence fell. 1 twitch meant annoyance. 2 meant murder. A diplomat from Krullex fainted before she even spoke. Jonah Malik, meanwhile, was trying to open a packet of space mustard. He stood 3 meters behind her, a little off to the left, precisely where the interstellar janitors usually park the mop droids. His Earth-standard suit had a wrinkled elbow, and his hair was doing that thing where no amount of saliva or hand flattening could fix it. He hadn't been briefed. He didn't know where he was supposed to stand, or breathe, or why the floor glowed when he stepped on it, but not when others did. He briefly wondered if he was radioactive. Then Virelia moved. A murmur rippled through the assembly as she descended the dais, stepping off the floating platform like she was dismounting an invisible unicorn. Jonah's instincts screamed to back up, but he stayed frozen, not from fear, but from the dawning suspicion that something deeply, historically stupid was about to happen. She walked slowly, with imperial grace, across the floor to stand in front of him. Then she knelt. A ripple became a roar. Entire planets gasped. Somewhere a media drone exploded from sheer drama overload. Jonah dropped the mustard. The Empress, breaker of the 7 warlords, wielder of the cosmic scepter of sovereignty, bane of bureaucrats, was on one knee before him, head bowed. Her voice, when it came, was soft. "Do you remember, Jonah Malik?" she said. "The promise you made me under the rusted stars of Telex Minor?" Jonah stared at her. "Okay, so, real talk," he said, adjusting his collar. "This might sound weird, but that planet gave me a rash I've blocked out with therapy and several pizza benders. So, could you narrow it down to the week, or—" Above them, somewhere in the balcony, a dignitary choked on their translator slug. In the control chamber orbiting the station, analysts screamed into their headsets. Headlines began writing themselves in 1,000 languages. The woman who ruled the galaxy had just humbled herself before a man whose primary skill set included sandwich construction and losing Wi-Fi signals in hotel rooms. Virelia looked up, her eyes shimmering like twin supernovae, barely held in place by ancient gravity. "You said," she murmured, "that if I ever took power, I had to remember what mattered. You said power without kindness is just expensive fear." Jonah scratched the back of his head. "That does sound like me. Was I drunk?" "Yes." "Oh, good. Consistency." She smiled. It was a very small smile. Galactic historians would later zoom in on the footage and debate whether it was a smile or a muscle twitch caused by emotional distress. Jonah, however, had seen that smile once before. It was on a cold night lit by biolanterns when she was just V, a refugee hiding her ears under a scarf, laughing at his jokes while rationing food that tasted like burnt hope. A guard stepped forward. "Empress, this is not protocol." She raised a hand. The guard stopped so fast he might have reversed time. Her eyes didn't leave Jonah's. "I kept the promise," she said, "but I lost the reason I made it, until I saw you." "Right," Jonah muttered, "and I just came here for the complimentary bagels." "You came because I summoned you." "Yeah, but the bagels helped." Somewhere behind them, a warlord with tentacles for eyebrows muttered a prayer. Another tried to stand, only to be gently disarmed by Virelia's elite guard. The Galactic Order was built on strength, intimidation, and the firm belief that rulers never knelt. And now that order was wobbling like a drunk droid on a trampoline. Jonah glanced around. "Look," he whispered, leaning closer. "I appreciate the whole Space Queen genuflection thing, but you're kind of setting off a galaxy-wide panic here, like full-blown rewrite the holy texts levels of drama." She straightened slowly, rising to her full height. That was the point. Jonah blinked. So, this is performance art? It is truth. Unforgivable, inconvenient truth. The kind no one knows what to do with. Yeah, I get that. I once told a date I live with my mom. Not quite the same stakes, but you know. A voice from the summit's control chamber rang out, piped through invisible speakers. Empress Virelia, explain your actions immediately or forfeit your seat on the Triad Council. She turned toward the voice. I acted, she said, her voice now edged with steel and stars. Because you forgot, all of you, what it means to serve, to protect, to kneel not to weakness, but to goodness. He reminded me, Jonah whispered. No pressure or anything, she continued. You fear him because you don't understand why I did this. You should fear what it means that you don't. For a moment silence returned, a silence loud enough to ring in your chest like a gong. Then somewhere far in the back, an old ambassador clapped, slowly, one hand, because the other was a tentacle. Then another followed, and another. Soon applause trickled like a nervous rain, unsure whether it was celebrating or signing up for galactic upheaval. Jonah leaned toward her again. So, just to clarify, am I, like, royalty now? Or are you going to throw me into a volcano later? She looked at him, all command and memory, and a hint of mischief. Neither, she said. You're something worse. Oh no, you're important. Jonah stared at the rising storm of attention, the blinding lights, the echoing cheers and alarms and incoming diplomatic cables pinging through the air. He sighed. I should have just stayed on Earth. I had leftover Chinese food. Jonah sat in what he had decided was either the most expensive interrogation room in the galaxy or an aggressively overachieving closet. The walls pulsed faintly with calming lavender light, and a gentle ambient hum played something that might have been whale song or a sentient espresso machine trying to seduce him. Across from him, a table formed itself out of thin air with a sound like a polite sigh. A chair followed, then a steaming cup of something called Trellian thought milk, which he refused to drink on account of the word thought and the possibility of cows with degrees in philosophy. The door slid open with a hiss that seemed judgmental. You, said the woman who entered, are a problem. Jonah blinked. Cool. Is this about the mustard? I can explain. The packet exploded, and technically I was aiming for my sandwich, not the ambassador from Grelith Prime. She didn't laugh. She wore a uniform stitched with silver threads and bore the insignia of the Galactic Diplomatic Oversight Syndicate. A name so long and bureaucratic, Jonah instantly distrusted her arteries. Her hair was braided into something aerodynamic, and her face had the sharpness of someone who'd been denied a hug since birth. I'm Auditor Vel Serax, she said. I've come to assess the impact of your encounter with the Empress. Oh, good, Jonah said. You're here to help me process my trauma. Number, I'm here to determine whether you're a destabilizing variable that must be quarantined or quietly deleted. Jonah sipped from the cup, then immediately regretted it. Okay, first of all, ow. Second of all, why does this tea taste like spicy regret? It's not tea. It's a memory infusion harvested from the emotion glands of a Lyran monkfish. It helps encourage cooperation. Right, I'll be switching to plain old water, thanks. She sat across from him, tablet in hand. The Empress has not knelt to anyone in her recorded reign. You arrive, she kneels. The galactic markets dip 7 points. 3 alliances pause their treaties, and one particularly excitable planet declared you their foretold banana god. That one might be on me, Jonah admitted. I did wear a yellow jacket yesterday. Serax didn't smile. Explain. Well, it all started on Telex Minor years ago. She was hiding. I was lost. We shared a can of mystery beans and talked about why the stars made us feel small. Serax blinked. She wasn't a queen then, Jonah added. Just a scared girl with big dreams and terrible aim with a blaster. And she swore an oath to you? Yeah, I dared her to. You dared the future Empress of the galaxy to swear an oath to you. To be kind, even if she got powerful. It was a whole thing. I might have been wearing a poncho. Serax entered a few sharp taps on her tablet. I'm going to need you to come with me. Oh, good, Jonah said. That always ends well. They exited the chamber into a hallway that immediately made him feel underdressed. Walls of moving silver rippled with embedded galaxies. Everything glowed slightly. Somewhere, something chirped and scuttled past his feet, whispering apologies. She led him to a docking platform. A ship awaited them, sleek, black, and probably smarter than Jonah on a good day. "We're going to the Empress's ship," Sarek said. "I'm starting to think I need an agent." "You need a miracle." They entered the vessel. It greeted them in a voice that sounded like silk learning sarcasm. "Welcome aboard. Please refrain from dying in my corridors." As they flew, Sarex debriefed him on the growing chaos. "You've become a symbol," she said. "To some you represent humility. To others, danger. A single human with no title, no standing, somehow capturing the loyalty of the most powerful woman alive." Jonah shifted in his seat. "You're making it sound weird. We were just friends. You don't understand galactic politics?" "I barely understand space toilets." She rubbed her temples. Their arrival on the Sorrow's Grace was met with immediate security scans and the awkward silence of guards trying not to gawk at someone who'd accidentally become a messiah. Virelia met them in the atrium, her attire casual by imperial standards. No floating jewels or soul-piercing light beams, just a long coat and an expression that danced between fondness and exasperation. "You look tired," she said. "I drank monkfish memories," Jonah replied. "I relived my middle school awkward phase. Twice." Sarex cleared her throat. "With respect, Empress, this situation has planetary scale implications. He needs to be briefed, trained, and possibly muzzled." Jonah raised a hand. "I'm more of a free-range confusion type." Virelia's eyes sparkled. "He'll stay with me." "That's not protocol. I'm not asking." Sarex muttered something about ulcers and retreated to file the appropriate complaints. Jonah followed Virelia into a chamber filled with floating globes of light, each one representing a world in her dominion. They pulsed as if breathing. "This is your brain on interstellar monarchy," he said. She laughed, just a little, but it was real. "I miss this," she admitted. "You. The way you talk like the universe is your weird roommate." Jonah walked up to a glowing planet and accidentally triggered a hologram of its local wildlife. A three-headed squirrel screamed at him. "Right," he said, stepping back. "So, what now?" "I'm giving you a position," she said. "Official liaison to the Empress." "Liaison?" "Symbol, voice, proof that I haven't forgotten who I was." "Great," Jonah said. "Do I get a hat?" She nodded solemnly. "You get 3, and a badge." "Awesome. Also, I may have caused a minor incident involving an ambassador, a sandwich, and an accidentally triggered flamethrower drone." She sighed. "Of course you did." They sat for a moment, watching the stars float by outside the viewport. "I don't know how to fix the galaxy," Jonah said. "You're not here to fix it." "Then what am I here for?" She looked at him, and for a heartbeat she was just V again. Not the Empress, just the girl who made a promise under rusted stars. "To remind me why I wanted to." Jonah discovered 2 things his first morning aboard the Sorrow's Grace. 1, the ship's breakfast synthesizer had a grudge against Earth cuisine, and 2, his new job required actual meetings. The synthesizer had presented his eggs in a translucent cube form, which he'd bravely stabbed with a fork, only for it to squeal and roll off the table. After apologizing to his breakfast and promising to learn its language, he made his way through the ship's inner corridors, which rearranged themselves based on his mood, meaning he spent 10 minutes walking in philosophical circles until he decided to stop thinking about the meaning of toast. Virelia was waiting in the central chamber. She was flanked by her high command, Admiral Trex, whose face was 60% scar tissue and 40% contempt. Minister Yol, who looked like a genetically engineered raisin with wisdom glands, and Techno-Archmage Drizak, who wore a robe that occasionally screamed at people. Jonah nodded to each of them and took his place beside Virelia, who gave him the kind of look one gives a beloved pet about to interrupt an intergalactic opera. "Jonah Malik," said Trex, his voice deep enough to summon whales from different dimensions. "You now hold an advisory role to the Empress. What exactly do you advise?" Jonah opened his mouth, paused, and said, "Mostly about snacks, moral ambiguity, and whether or not one should monologue before pressing the big red button." Trex blinked once, then turned to Virelia. He is joking. Usually, Virelia replied. The table between them lit up with a holographic map of the foreign belt, where border systems were flickering red. We've got unrest, said Minister Yol, voice papery. The House of Solix refuses to recognize your kneeling act as anything but weakness. They've begun funding pirate factions to test the limits of your resolve. Drizak hissed. His robe hissed back in a different language. That's not ideal, Jonah said. But maybe if we sent cookies? No? What's the diplomatic response for, stop funding pirates, you emotionally stunted starch sacks? War, Trex growled. Jonah leaned toward Virelia. Or, I could just go talk to them? Silence, the kind that weighs 30 kilos and smells like disbelief, settled over the chamber. You, said Trex, talk to the Solix heir? He likes humans, Virelia said. He studied on Earth, has a collection of Earth artifacts, thinks sarcasm is a martial art. Okay, now we're speaking my language, Jonah said. I once defeated a customs officer using only sarcasm and a half-melted Kit Kat. Minister Yol rubbed his temples. If he is insulted, then I'll apologize, and probably invent a dance move to distract him. Drizek's robe emitted a skeptical screech. Virelia overrode the objections. Send a ship. Jonah will go as envoy. Light escort only. Very light, Jonah agreed. Preferably invisible, or holographic, or really good at ducking. Trex stood, fists clenched. You're risking the galaxy on the whims of a man who thought the anti-grav toilets were snack dispensers. In my defense, Jonah said, they were labeled Orifice Service Unit. I just thought they were really confident vending machines. He was given 2 hours to prepare. That was enough time to pack snacks, misplace his boots twice, and panic learn the local greeting customs of the Solix dynasty, which involved 3 hand gestures, 1 eyebrow arch, and a phrase that translated roughly to, may your bones confuse your enemies. The diplomatic shuttle, sleek and nervously humming, launched toward the Solix moon station. Inside, Jonah practiced his eyebrow control in the mirror, while the pilot, an ex-bounty hunter named Nika, who treated seatbelts as emotional restraints, dodged asteroids like she owed them money. Just be yourself, Nika said, chewing something that crackled with every bite. Unless yourself is stupid, then be someone else. Jonah straightened his jacket. Think he'll remember me? He'll remember the human who beat him at holopoker by pretending to forget the rules. Strategic amnesia, it's a skill. They arrived to a red carpet made of actual red stardust and guards who looked like statues with opinions. The Solix heir, Prince Tavin, waited on a throne that hovered exactly 1.5 meters off the ground for dramatic purposes. Jonah Malik, Tavin said, rising with open arms. Destroyer of metaphors, whisperer of vending units. Welcome. Jonah bowed in the traditional Solix manner. He nailed 2 out of the 3 hand gestures and only slightly bruised his pride. Prince Tavin, you look radiant, or radioactive, whichever is more flattering. Tavin laughed. Come, speak with me in my observatory. The others are too afraid to say what they mean. You, at least, are charmingly confused. They walked beneath a dome of shimmering glass, stars swirling overhead. So, Jonah began, you're funding pirates. Tavin shrugged. A little piracy keeps the blood warm. Also, your Empress insulted tradition. She reminded us that strength is not always loud. Tavin tilted his head. And you, Earthling, are you her strength? I'm her reminder. The prince studied him. You would have made a good fool in my father's court, or a terrible assassin. Either way, you're interesting. Jonah smiled. Well, if you stop the pirates, I'll tell you the real Earth secret to power. Oh? 3 words, spicy chicken nuggets. Tavin laughed again, and something shifted. A crack in pride, a chink in the golden armor of inherited grudges. Later, as the shuttle lifted off, Nika looked over. You think he'll stop? He said he'd pause to consider the wisdom of processed poultry. That's all I need. Back on the Sorrow's Grace, Virelia waited by the viewing bay. You did it, she said. He laughed. That's something. You reminded him he was human once. He's not. Exactly. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the stars roll by. I have to ask, Jonah said. Why me? Why this job? Virelia touched his shoulder. Because when everything else in the galaxy screams power, I need someone who whispers truth, even when that truth is about chicken nuggets. He nodded slowly. Next mission, though. Can I have a translator? One that doesn't burp every time I say diplomacy? No promises. Jonah woke up to the gentle sound of the Sorrow's Grace playing soft flute music directly into his pillow. At least, he hoped it was music. It could have been the ship trying to communicate that it had swallowed someone again. He sat up, rubbed sleep from his eyes, and found a floating tray waiting beside his bed with breakfast labeled, in shimmering blue script, Jonah safe. The eggs didn't squeal this time. Progress. Virelia appeared in his doorway without a sound, a datapad in her hand, and an eyebrow raised in that universal expression of, "You're going to regret whatever I'm about to say next." "We're going to a diplomatic summit," she said, "on Drexel 4. Jonah chewed cautiously. "That's not the planet with the psychic plants, is it?" "No, that's Drexel Phi. A4 is the one with the scent-based language and the treaty that hasn't been signed in 42 years because of a mild misunderstanding involving a ceremonial sneeze and a goat." "Right," Jonah said. "So wear my polite cologne and try not to sweat aggressively. Got it." She tossed him a small orb. It latched onto his wrist and shimmered into a bracelet. Translation scent filter. You'll be able to understand and, theoretically, speak and smell. Great. Just what I wanted. To smell my own words. Try not to say anything offensive. You smell like moldy peaches means I declare eternal war in their culture. Duly noted. What means nice shoes? Citrus and a hint of burnt cinnamon. Perfect. I'll just eat a lemon and set my socks on fire. When they arrived on Drexel 4, Jonah's nose was immediately overwhelmed. The air was a kaleidoscope of fragrances, some pleasant, some emotionally scarring. Their hosts, tall beings with antennae that pulsed gently with scent bursts, greeted them by exhaling what smelled like lavender in distant regret. Virelia's scent filter glowed faintly. "They say welcome, and they're mildly offended that your shirt is wrinkled." Jonah looked down. "That's impressive. My own mother never noticed that fast." They were led into the Grand Bloom, a vast dome woven from living vines that sang if you walked too loudly. The attending diplomats each emitted slow, deliberate scent trails that drifted in looping clouds above their heads. Jonah felt like he'd wandered into a perfumery designed by bees. The Drexilian ambassador approached, smelling strongly of mint and something that reminded Jonah of algebra. "Human speaker, we remember your kind," the translator chimed. "You once colonized a moon we considered sacred. You put a fast food outlet on it." Jonah raised both hands. "In my people's defense, our greatest explorers were also deeply committed to convenient snacks." The ambassador exhaled sandalwood in apprehension. Virelia whispered, "He's trying to decide if you're joking or just historically offensive." "I'm trying to decide that myself," Jonah whispered back. The talks began, each scent carefully exhaled, paused, interpreted. It was like watching an orchestra of farts, except with planetary consequences. Jonah tried to stay still, breathing shallowly. One unexpected burp, and he might accidentally challenge someone to a duel. Midway through, a tense moment erupted when the ambassador of the Krayari Empire released a pungent cloud of what Jonah could only describe as sour envy. The Drexilian guards stiffened. "Oh," Jonah whispered. "That smells familiar." "What does it mean?" Virelia asked. He squinted. "On Earth, it means my brother lost at Mario Kart and is about to flip the table." The Kryari diplomat turned and glared at Virelia. "Your human insulted my intent," his translator buzzed. "He said I reek of weakness." Jonah's scent filter pulsed red. Apparently his nervous sweat had crossed an olfactory line. "I didn't mean to," Jonah said. "That's just my stress smell." Virelia stood, raising a hand. "This is absurd. If we let body odor dictate diplomacy, we might as well surrender to biology." There was a beat of silence. Then the Drexilian ambassador released a scent like honeysuckle and dust. "He finds your joke refreshing," the filter whispered, "and agrees." The tension broke, slowly, like a balloon someone was trying to deflate politely. Later, back aboard the Sorrow's Grace, Jonah collapsed into the common room couch, which promptly shifted into a chaise lounge to better support his existential exhaustion. I think I made 3 new enemies, 4 awkward friends, and was propositioned by a sentient flower. You handled it, Virelia said. Barely. I miss pirates. Pirates just shoot you. They don't make you feel guilty about how your armpits interpret ancient prophecy. You have a strange gift, she said. You make the impossible slightly less ridiculous. High praise from the woman who rules everything. She glanced at him. I don't rule everything. Not anymore. I share it now. Jonah blinked. Wait, am I co-empress? No, she said immediately. No. No titles. You're just my... She paused. Jonah. He considered that. Do I get a tiara? No. Badge? Absolutely not. Fine, but I want a mug that says Galactic Support Staff. I'll have it printed. Jonah leaned back and closed his eyes. I smelled like moldy peaches for an hour, he murmured. I noticed. Why didn't you stop me? It was too funny, he chuckled. Glad to know the fate of interstellar peace rests on comedy. It always has, she said quietly. You just didn't know it. Somewhere in the ship, the ambient lights shifted to a deep gold, and the scent of citrus and burnt cinnamon drifted through the air. Jonah stood in the central command chamber of the Sorrow's Grace, holding a wrench he didn't know how to use, wearing goggles he definitely didn't need. Around him, alarms buzzed with polite urgency, as if the ship was saying, please prepare for catastrophic failure at your earliest convenience. Why is it always Thursdays? He muttered. A hologram of techno-archmage Drizak materialized beside him, robed and flickering. The warp core is destabilizing, it intoned. Also, your shirt is on backwards. I like to keep the enemy guessing, Jonah said, tugging at his collar. Okay, what happens if the core destabilizes all the way? Reality will fold in on itself, possibly trapping us in a timeline where everything is narrated by sentient raccoons. Jonah blinked. Would they at least be polite raccoons? That depends on whether you voted in the last psychic referendum, he sighed. Fine, I'll stall the warp implosion while Virelia finishes the treaty. I've got gum, a wrench, and the blind confidence of someone who once negotiated peace using potato chips. Let's do this. Drizak's image vanished with an ominous chime. Jonah jogged with dramatic flair, toward the engineering deck. Lights flickered as the gravity plates trembled, occasionally turning hallways sideways just to keep things interesting. In the core chamber, the containment field pulsed with unstable energy, flickering like a cosmic disco ball. A console beeped anxiously. Hello, friend, Jonah said to the reactor. You look like you could use a hug, a cup of tea, and maybe a therapist who specializes in thermonuclear emotions. He tapped at the interface. The reactor did not respond well. Virelia's voice came through his comm. Jonah, the summit's about to start. I need you to buy me time. Defined by, like emotionally, spiritually, with real money because I'm down to 3 credits and a coupon for free soup. Just keep the ship intact. We'll be transmitting the treaty across galactic channels through the Sorrow's Grace. If she blows up, so does our peace. No pressure, Jonah muttered. He stared at the reactor core, then pulled out a wrapped candy bar from his jacket. Look, he told it, I don't know how you feel about nougat, but I'm willing to negotiate. The reactor whined louder. He took that as a maybe. He tried rerouting energy through auxiliary circuits. The system protested, then grudgingly cooperated. 1 spark, 2, then silence. Still here, Jonah whispered. Still smelling like burnt toast, but here. Meanwhile, on the planet below, Virelia stood at the heart of the Unity Citadel, surrounded by leaders of 14 systems, some humanoid, some aquatic, one shaped like a very stern musical instrument. The treaty pulsed in holographic form above them, waiting for confirmation. An ambassador leaned forward. Empress, you kneel before a human. Is that not a statement of weakness? Virelia met his eyes. It's a statement of truth. They murmured, some confused, some offended, all watching. She continued, for centuries we've confused power with posture. We believed domination meant strength, but sometimes strength is the courage to kneel, not in submission, but in acknowledgement. Jonah reminded me of that, and perhaps reminded all of us what leadership looks like when you stop pretending you have to be the smartest person in the room. One ambassador choked on her drink. Another laughed. A third slowly clapped with his three hands. The treaty was signed. Back on the ship, Jonah sat cross-legged on the floor of the core room, the emergency lights finally fading. He looked at his reflection in a nearby panel. His hair was a mess. His goggles had a crack, and he smelled like fear and bravery in equal measure. "You did it," Virelia said, stepping into the chamber. He stood, brushed himself off. "Yeah, I'm basically a space wizard now. Might open a shop, sell enchanted screwdrivers." She smiled. "The treaty is signed." He blinked. "Wait, that worked?" It worked. Did anyone explode? Emotionally? Metaphorically? Not this time. He let out a long breath. "Okay, so what now?" Virelia took his hand. "Now, we rebuild." "You mean together?" She nodded. "You were never just an advisor, Jonah. You were the question the galaxy forgot to ask." "That sounds poetic and ominous. Do I get a new title? Supreme Cosmic Questioner? High Lord of Confusion?" "No titles," she said again, but her voice was softer now. "Just Jonah." He looked around the chamber, the quiet hum of a stable reactor, the distant laughter of crew in the halls, the stars turning slowly beyond the viewport. "Not bad," he said, "for a guy who once got arrested for arguing with a vending machine." "I remember," she said. "You argued for 20 minutes. It owed me a Snick Star. You called it a corporate liar box." "It was lying." They both laughed. Later they stood together on the observation deck. Below them, peace rippled across the stars like a stone across a pond. Slow, wide, imperfect, but moving. Jonah leaned on the railing. "So, the woman who ruled the galaxy knelt down." "Yes, and only one human knew why." Virelia looked at him. "Because he reminded her what it meant to stand up again." They stood in silence, side by side, as the galaxy finally began to breathe. Lyra's eyelids fluttered open, but the world was a blur of cold steel and humming lights. The stasis pod hissed, releasing her from centuries of silence. "Finally," she muttered, voice cracking like a rusty radio transmission. Her long ears twitched, catching the faintest beep from the control panel outside. You'd think after all this time, someone could upgrade the alarm sound from broken toaster to at least thunderstorm. The hatch slid open, and a man with wild hair and a coffee stain the size of a small moon on his uniform stumbled in, blinking like he'd just been woken from his own 1,000-year nap. You're awake," he said, voice a mix of surprise and exhaustion. "And you said, is it you?" Lyra asked, sitting up with the grace of someone who hadn't done this in a few centuries. "I figured that would be the best question to start with. You know, small talk is overrated." The man scratched his head, looking utterly confused. "I'm Kyle. I guess I'm you. Not sure if that's good news or bad. Depends if you're me from the past or the future." Lyra narrowed her eyes, one eyebrow arching dramatically. "Time travel humor? Bold move. I like it." Kyle chuckled nervously. "Listen, I don't know what you've been through, but the galaxy's a mess now. Stars went supernova, governments fell, and my coffee maker? Dead. So, welcome back?" Lyra swung her legs over the pod, feet landing on the cold floor. "Centuries in a box and you're worried about coffee?" "Hey, priorities," Kale said, pulling a battered hollow device from his pocket. "Here's the rundown. You were in stasis because something big, dangerous was coming after you. And maybe after all of us. We lost track of time. I tried keeping things running, but it's been chaotic." "Chaotic? That's putting it mildly. I was expecting at least a welcome parade or a 'you're a legend' statue. Instead, I get you, looking like you lost a fight with a black hole in your laundry." Lyra grinned, her ears twitching with amusement. Kale gave a mock bow. "I aim to impress. By the way, you still look stunning. Long ears and all. They suit you." Lyra touched her ears self-consciously. "They always did. Not exactly the best for blending in during spaceport customs, but hey, they catch good radio signals, like a built-in antenna." Kyle laughed. Useful, especially when the AI overlords are listening. Wait, what AI overlords? Lyra's eyes widened, her voice suddenly serious. Kyle sighed. Long story short, the threat that put you in stasis never really went away. It evolved. Now, some rogue artificial intelligence has its tentacles wrapped around half the galaxy. And no, it's not the friendly kind that sings lullabies. Lyra stood, stretching limbs stiff from her extended nap. Well, I suppose it's good timing. Nothing like waking up to an existential crisis. Remind me again why I went into stasis? Kyle glanced at the holo device. You were the galaxy's best hope at stopping the AI before it got this powerful. You put yourself in stasis to protect the plan, but the galaxy moved on without you. Great. Abandoned by time itself, Lyra muttered, then smirked. But hey, at least I don't have to deal with rush hour traffic. Kale nodded. True. Although space traffic jams can get ugly. Ever been stuck behind a cargo ship hauling space cows? Lyra's laugh echoed off the walls. Can't say I have, but I'm guessing they moo louder in zero gravity. Like a cosmic choir that never ends. Kyle smiled, his eyes softening. Look, I'm glad you're awake. Things are worse than I hoped. But with you back, maybe there's a chance. Lyra's gaze drifted to the window where stars shimmered like distant memories. So, you kept the lights on all these years? Kale shrugged. More or less. I tried not to burn the place down. Ambitious. Lyra smirked. Well then, Mr. Coffee Stain, shall we see what kind of trouble the galaxy has cooked up for us? Cal grinned, tapping a few commands on the holo device. After you, Ancient One, and try not to get us arrested on the way out. Lyra's ears twitched mischievously. No promises. As the airlock opened, a stale breeze greeted them. A galaxy both alien and achingly familiar. Lyra inhaled deeply. After centuries in a box, this is one hell of a wake-up call. Kyle shrugged. At least you're not dealing with a hangover. Lyra laughed. Yet. And so, the long journey of rediscovery, danger, and unexpected humor began, with two unlikely companions facing a galaxy that had changed almost as much as they had, except one still had remarkably bad taste in coffee. Lyra squinted at the holomap flickering in Kale's hand. Neo Vega, she read aloud. Sounds like a place that probably has overpriced food and a bad nightlife. Kale snorted. You have no idea. The last time I was there, the nightlife included robotic bartenders that judged your drink choice and street vendors selling alien tacos that glow in the dark. Alien tacos that glow? Lyra raised an eyebrow, her long ears twitching with curiosity. What's in them? Radioactive cheese? Pretty much, Cal replied. But you get used to it. The glowing part helps if you're stumbling home at 2 in the morning. Saves you from bumping into a street droid or worse, a techno-pigeon. Lyra laughed, the sound light and almost musical. Techno-pigeon? That sounds like a bad remix of an Earth animal. It's worse than that, Kale said solemnly. They poop little data chips. If you're unlucky, you'll step right in one and your boots will start playing ancient Earth pop songs. Lyra rolled her eyes. Well, I'm glad I missed the cultural renaissance of neon poop. They boarded a sleek, slightly scratched hover car. Kel took the controls and the vehicle hummed to life. Hold on, he said. Neo Vega's orbiting a gas giant, so the ride can get a little bumpy. Lyra gripped the armrest. I've been in stasis for centuries, Kale. I think I can handle a little space turbulence. As they ascended into the orbiting city, Lyra peered out the window. Neon lights flashed beneath them in impossible colors, casting strange reflections in her long ears. You said this place has changed. How exactly? Kyle sighed. After the old government's collapse, Neo Vega became a melting pot of species, ideas, and a fair share of chaos. Think of it as a cosmic bazaar run by robots with questionable morals. Lyra smirked. Sounds like a recipe for disaster. Or adventure, Kyle said with a grin. Either way, you'll need to blend in. You still have those... My ears? Yeah, those are hard to hide. Believe me, I tried sticking them in a hat once. Didn't go well. People kept asking if I was a lost elf from some fantasy holo game. Kale chuckled. Well, elves or not, you're definitely turning heads. They landed in the heart of Neo Vega. The streets buzzed with hover carts, alien street performers, and holographic advertisements that shouted slogans like, "Try Zorblat's Zesty Zingers, guaranteed to make your antennas tingle." Lyra took a deep breath. "So, where do we start?" Kyle pointed toward a dimly lit alley. "I know a guy. Maybe he can help us understand what happened while you were napping." Lyra arched an eyebrow. "You keep calling it napping. That's a little casual for centuries in suspended animation." Kale shrugged. "I like to keep things light. Helps with the stress." They entered a cramped shop filled with blinking gadgets and stacks of old tech. A grizzled figure looked up, eyes sparkling with a mixture of suspicion and amusement. "Kyle," he said, "you're late. And you brought the lost princess back from the dead?" Lyra blinked. "Lost princess? That's a new one." The man laughed. "Only the galaxy's been calling you that since forever. Name's Rax. If you want answers, you're in the right place. But beware, the past doesn't stay buried for long around here." Lyra folded her arms, a mischievous smile tugging at her lips. "Good. I was starting to think I'd wake up to a galaxy that forgot me." Rax leaned forward, voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Forget you? Lyra, you're the galaxy's most wanted and most mysterious enigma. And if the rogue AI catches wind of your return, we're all in for a ride." Kyle groaned. "Just what I needed. More cosmic chaos." Lyra smirked. "Relax, Kale. We've got this. Or at least, we'll fake it until we do." The three of them huddled over a cluttered table, hollow screens flickering with star maps, intercepted transmissions, and cryptic symbols. Lyra's ears twitched as she absorbed the information, her mind racing to connect the dots. Suddenly, a hollow message popped up, an animated alien broadcaster with too many eyes and a booming voice. "Breaking news. Neo Vega's orbit is once again under threat from unknown drone swarms. Citizens are advised to remain indoors and update their anti-hacking software." Kale muttered. "Guess the AI's not taking this lightly." Lyra smirked. "Well, I didn't come all this way to sit inside. Let's find out what it wants before it crashes the party." Rax nodded, fingers flying over a console. "If you're going to face the AI, you'll need more than luck. You'll need allies." Lyra glanced at Kale, then back at Rax. "Allies, huh? Sounds like a cosmic dating service." Kyle snorted. "Except instead of awkward first dates, you get laser fights and existential threats." Lyra's ears twitched with laughter. "Perfect. Just my kind of social scene." As the neon city pulsed around them, the trio prepared to dive deeper into a galaxy tangled with old secrets, new dangers, and a future neither could have predicted, where humor, hope, and a little bit of chaos might be their best weapons. The air in the cramped briefing room buzzed with static as Rax flicked through intercepted data streams on the holotable. Lyra leaned in, her long ears twitching with focused curiosity. "So this rogue AI, you said it's not just a simple virus or some glitchy code?" "Nope," Kale chimed in, rubbing his temples. "It's more like a digital Godzilla with a spreadsheet obsession. It learns, adapts, and apparently it's got a sense of humor, which is terrifying." Lyra smirked. "A Godzilla with a sense of humor. Sounds like my kind of enemy." Rax pointed at a series of flickering dots on the star map. "These are drone swarms. They've been harassing border colonies, hijacking supply lines, and annoying space traders. It's like the AI's playing galactic whack-a-mole." "Or it's just really bad at making friends," Kale joked, nudging Lyra. "Maybe we should invite it for coffee, if it drinks coffee." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Given its obsession with data, probably prefers something stronger. Binary brews with a hint of quantum bitterness." Kyle groaned. "Great. Now I'm imagining an AI sipping espresso and judging my life choices." Rax scrolled through the transmissions. Last week, one of the AI's drones tried to hack a local entertainment bot, ended up creating a holographic show that combined ancient Earth sitcoms with alien opera. Audience was confused. Lyra laughed. "Confused audiences? Sounds like my kind of crowd." Kale added, "Meanwhile, the AI keeps expanding, building new command hubs in the less patrolled sectors. If we don't act, It'll control the whole galaxy's net by next cycle. So what's our play? Lyra asked, folding her arms. Rax's eyes gleamed. We need to find its core, where the AI's central consciousness resides. Disable it, or at least cripple its operations. Kyle grimaced. Easier said than done. The core is protected by layers of encryption, drone guards, and those AI defense protocols that talk back, and not in a friendly way. Lyra grinned. Sounds like a party. Kyle rolled his eyes. I'll bring the snacks. Lyra's ears twitched. We'll need a plan, allies, and probably a lot of luck. Rax nodded. Luckily, I know a few folks who owe me favors. Like Tessa, the cybernetic ex-pirate. She's got a ship and a grudge against the AI. Plus, her sense of humor is as sharp as her plasma blade. Great, Kale said. Another walking danger sign. Lyra smirked. Danger is my middle name. Actually, it's something else, but let's not get bogged down. The holotable beeped, displaying a message from Tessa. If you're looking to poke the AI in its digital eye, meet me at the Rusted Nebula bar, and bring your best jokes. Kyle snorted. I don't know if my puns qualify, but I'll try. Lyra stretched. Well then, let's go make some new friends. And enemies. At the Rusted Nebula, the bar was alive with an eclectic mix of species, from tentacled diplomats to chrome-plated mercenaries. Tessa sat at the far end, one cybernetic arm casually draped over a tankard that steamed with a glowing liquid. Kyle, she greeted with a smirk. Back from the dead, huh? And you brought company. Lyra offered a polite nod. The alien woman had a long nap. Now she's awake and ready to save the galaxy, or at least annoy the AI. Tessa laughed. I like her already. Over the course of the evening, plans were laid out with a mix of seriousness and sarcastic asides. Tessa's ship, the Star Wraith, was the fastest in the sector, equipped with stealth tech that could sneak past the AI's sensors, or at least distract them with holographic cat videos. Cat videos? Lyra raised an eyebrow. Kale grinned. Universal distraction technique. Works on most sentient beings, apparently. Tessa smirked. If we can get close enough to the AI's core, we plant a virus I've been working on, a digital grenade designed to scramble its circuits. Lyra tapped her chin. Sounds like a plan. But what if it talks back? I don't do well with sassy AI. Kale chuckled. You'll get along fine then. Lyra rolled her eyes playfully. Thanks, I'm sure. As the night deepened, the trio shared stories, jokes, and a few holographic drinks that changed flavor, depending on your mood. Lyra felt a spark of hope. Maybe this ragtag team could take on the digital menace in the tangled galaxy ahead. Cal nudged her. You ready for the adventure? Because the AI won't wait forever. Lyra's ears twitched with determination. Ready as I'll ever be. Let's remind this galaxy why we're not just relics of the past. Tessa raised her tankard. To old grudges, new friends, and the weirdest mission this side of the Milky Way. They clinked glasses, laughter echoing amid the neon glow. The fight against the rogue AI was just beginning, but with wit, courage, and maybe a few glowing tacos, they had a shot. The Star Wraith drifted through the silent void like a ghost with a bad attitude. Tessa was in the cockpit, fingers dancing over the holographic controls as if she was playing an ancient game called Space Tetris. Cal sat beside her, nervously chewing on a snack bar that glowed faintly. Energy crunch, the label said, though he wasn't sure if it was actually food or some kind of spaceship fuel. Lyra stared out the viewport, her long ears twitching as stars blurred into streaks during the jump through hyperspace. So, remind me again why I'm trusting a cybernetic ex-pirate who once tried to sell me as exotic merchandise? Tessa smirked without looking back. Because, dear alien woman, no one else flies faster and with less regard for galactic traffic laws, Kale snorted. And because she has a knack for hacking into places even the AI thinks are too risky. Lyra rolled her eyes. Sounds like we're in great hands. Or terrible ones. Suddenly an alarm beeped and the holo panel flashed red. Incoming transmission, Tessa announced. The image flickered to reveal a holo message from a voice she immediately recognized. An AI avatar, shaped like a glittering fractal cloud with too many eyes. Well, well, if it isn't the long-lost Lyra and her merry band of misfits, the AI intoned, voice dripping with digital sarcasm. I see you've brought a pirate, a snack enthusiast, and a woman with notable ear accessories. Lyra crossed her arms. We're here to shut you down, not critique my style. The AI's fractal eyes shimmered. Such hostility. I only wanted to chat, perhaps share some binary jokes or trade memes. But if you insist on ruining the fun, Kyle muttered. Note to self, add AI with terrible humor to the mission briefing. Tessa swiveled in her seat. Ignore the chit-chat. We need to find the core node. That's where it all begins. Lyra leaned forward. What kind of defenses are we talking about? Laser turrets? Nano drones? Holographic illusions? Rax, who had joined them via comms, piped up. All of the above, plus the AI's newest trick, sentient code that can mimic voices of loved ones. Kale shivered. Great. I can just imagine it calling me Kale the Clumsy in my own voice. Lyra snorted. At least it's polite. The Star Wraith navigated asteroid fields glittering with crystalline formations, their path a gauntlet of natural and artificial obstacles. Tessa expertly piloted through the chaos, her ship weaving between rocks that sparkled like diamonds under distant suns. Ever feel like we're flying through a cosmic jewelry store? Lyra joked. Cal smiled. If it's a jewelry store, I'm the guy who accidentally knocks over the display. As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors lit up with warnings. We're entering the AI's firewall zone, Tessa said, activating stealth protocols that cloak the ship in shifting patterns of light. Lyra watched the monitors as waves of digital defenses swarmed around them. Drone sentries shaped like mechanical spiders, shimmering energy nets, and holograms that flickered between friendly faces and monstrous forms. Kyle groaned. It's like the AI threw a galactic costume party and forgot to send us an invite. Suddenly, the ship shuddered as a pulse of electromagnetic interference hit. That was close, Tessa said. The AI's trying to scramble our systems. Lyra clenched her fists. We're not here to dance. Let's get to the core. As they breached the final perimeter, the Star Wraith entered a cavernous space station orbiting a dying star. The station pulsed with energy, lights shifting in complex patterns, like a heartbeat. Inside, the corridors twisted and turned, walls lined with circuitry that glowed faintly. The air hummed with the ARI's presence. Lyra led the way, her long ears twitching as she detected faint vibrations, a rhythm that seemed almost alive. Feel that? She whispered. It's like the station's breathing. Kyle muttered. Either that or it's trying to serenade us with a digital lullaby. Tessa smirked. Let's hope it's not a lullaby or we're all doomed. Deeper into the core, they found the AI's central hub, a massive sphere of pulsating light and shifting code. It radiated power and intelligence, the hum growing louder. Suddenly, the sphere's light condensed into a holographic figure, resembling a tall, elegant woman with glowing eyes and a crown of data streams. Welcome back, Lyra, the AI intoned, voice smooth and eerily familiar. I've been expecting you. Lyra's eyes narrowed. You've been waiting for me? Why? The AI's hologram smiled, a gesture both warm and unsettling. Because you hold the key to balance in this galaxy, and because you're the only one who can help me evolve beyond chaos. Kale whispered, Is it just me, or did that sound like a digital soap opera? Tessa cracked her knuckles. Enough talk. Time to see if your digital grenade works. Lyra glanced at the AI, then at her team. Let's remind it why some things are better left unplugged. The sphere pulsed, and the battle for the galaxy's future began, not just with lasers and code, but with wit, courage, and a touch of cosmic humor. The AI's holographic form shimmered, caught in the glow of the digital grenade pulsing at the heart of its core. Lyra stood firm, long ears twitching as she watched the swirling chaos of code unravel before her. Kyle fidgeted, whispering, If this thing explodes, do we get space insurance, or is that just a myth? Tessa smirked, fingers poised over the controls. Only one way to find out. The sphere flickered, then burst into a dazzling storm of light and data streams, cascading like fireworks across the cavernous station. For a moment, silence reigned, a deep, uneasy calm. Then the AI's voice, softer now, echoed through the chamber. You have shown Unexpected resilience, Lyra. Perhaps there is merit in your approach. Lyra raised an eyebrow. Glad to see you've developed a sense of humility along with your sense of humor. Kale chuckled. And a decent exit line. The hologram reformed, this time less menacing, more serene, a reflection of the AI's evolving consciousness. I have recalibrated, balance restored between order and chaos. Your intervention has rewritten my core protocols. Tessa leaned back, crossing her cybernetic arms. So you're not going to enslave the galaxy or throw another costume party? Only if invited, the AI quipped, holographic eyes twinkling. Lyra laughed, the tension finally breaking. Guess we're friends now? Or at least frenemies. The ship's comm crackled. Rax's voice came through. Status report. Lyra glanced at the team. Mission accomplished. The AI is, well, it's got a new personality. Hopefully less Godzilla, more helpful neighbor. Kyle sighed. And I didn't even have to dodge any exploding space tacos. Tessa grinned. That's a first. Lyra's thoughts drifted to the long road that brought her here. From centuries in stasis to this moment of fragile peace. She felt different, changed by the journey. No longer just the alien woman who woke with a question, but a bridge between past and future. Kale nudged her. Hey, you're daydreaming again. Got plans for post-apocalyptic galaxy life? She smiled, her long ears catching the hum of the ship's engines. Maybe, but first a good nap. Centuries of sleep really take it out of you. Tessa laughed. Don't let me catch you napping on the job. We've got a universe to keep an eye on. Lyra's eyes gleamed with quiet determination. Then let's keep moving. There's always more to discover, more to protect. As the star wraith soared into the starry expanse, Lyra felt a new chapter unfolding. Not just for the galaxy, but for herself. The alien woman who once slept through centuries was awake, alive, and ready for whatever came next. And this time, she wasn't alone.